numbers. I know it's hard to remember. All 1,980 members. That's why you have to go and collect them all. Tell your parents they can buy them at the mall now.
Hello, and welcome to Speeding Bullets Repackaged. I almost said the wrong title. Only on our, third episode? Third episode.
I almost did Wolverine Claws. They're like, third. It's the third.
Yeah.
That's how you know I'm not actually German, right?
Not that we ever
this
keep
is how I
track
do three.
of our episode numbers in episodes. I think we learned in one of our incarnations not to try to say the episode number every time.
Why didn't we not want to do that?
I don't know.
It gets exhausting after a while.
Yeah, trying to remember. I mean, I number them when I put them up, but saying it's different. Yeah.
That's exactly why, Richie, is because we would be stuck for 5 minutes at the beginning of every episode. We'd be like, is this episode 170? 171?
Yeah.
170? 171? 70? I think it's 170, or is it 171? And it would be it would take up time, and I'm like, you gotta stop doing that.
One time with Jeff, I think that's actually a thing that happened. So
I am not surprised. I am not at all surprised. I know I was there for a couple of them, and I was like, we gotta no more numbers. Let's just nobody cares about the number anyway. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
It's Tupper. Welcome to Repackaged. I am wearing probably the greatest T-shirt that I've ever gotten.
Ooh.
And it is this.
Oh, yes. That is a great shirt.
Yeah, saw this online a while ago, and I was like, you know what? I would like to have that. And this year, I finally the trigger and made sure to make it happen. It's
I
great.
gotta say, when you were lifting yourself up on the chair, a part of me was hoping that you would somehow fall and we would have it on video.
I wasn't gonna fall, but I was also like, can the arms support my weight? I'm not that much. But this is an older chair.
And an older man.
Older is correct. Older is correct. 46 years old. 46 years young.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing that. Actually, yeah, that was a good arm workout. Yeah. Anyway, this is a great T-shirt, and I think it's T Fury is where you can get this. So you should go. There's some really good T-shirt vendors.
T-Public, I think, is where I got this one. No. This one was 80tees.com.
80stees.com. I did. That's where my Cobra T-shirt, the blue one that I got for this past year at Christmas. That's where I got that one from. So yeah, there's some good stuff out there, like 80s Tees, T-Public, T Fury, all pretty good.
Yeah.
You gotta kind of. I'm very specific with my T-shirt needs, though, so I'm like, I gotta find just the right stuff.
I have to go to companies that carry 3XL. All of those companies do. They're great. Some of them actually have one that's actually better, and that's 3XLT, which is 3XL tall, which gives you a bit more length, because I find some of the problems with, even though it's a 3XL, it doesn't quite, like, it'll be just at my waistline. So if I go like this, my shirt's like, up here. So
it's true. You are all torso. Mm-hmm. Like, even if you were not a larger lad, of the heftier frame, you're mostly torso. Mm-hmm. It's like, little legs, giant torso, relatively large head.
And people are always wondering, like, why are your calves so defined? I'm like, do you see what they carry? Like,
it's true. Richie is not like me; he doesn't run, but I think we're both about even in the calf factory.
Yeah,
I probably got a little on you at this point.
Yeah,
but you're doing okay.
Yeah,
you got nothing to be ashamed about.
That's right.
Well, you have nothing to be ashamed about anyway.
Exactly. So we got some figures to talk about, because none of that is action figures. There's something that I was...
Oh, is that what we're doing?
Yeah. there was something that I was hoping I would do an unboxing with, because I was going to be getting, have been expecting my Justice League Task Force action figures, which did arrive on time, in theory, because I pre-ordered them through GameStop. However, when GameStop received them, 2 out of the 4 figures were chase figures, which puts them at different colors, and also puts the
vastly different colors.
And puts the why am I getting balloons? Did you see that balloon?
Happy birthday! Oh, it's not even your birthday.
Either that or Pennywise, but
terrifying.
But so like they were. My folks at GameStop, they were annoyed because like they know I want a complete set of the same. It didn't dawn on to me till like a week later what the chase is trying to emulate, and that's in video games. Generally, when at that time in the 90s, if a boss was in like, or you were in low health, you would flash red, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what the chases are, because they're all red colored. But they didn't have any, and they're like, well, I can either pull them from another store, which not all the other stores didn't seem to have the other ones. So it's just like, but I can just send an email to my replenishing warehouse or whatever it's called, and get that for you. Then they went on vacation and were very disappointed when they came back and found out that I still didn't have my figures. So she was sending a few angry emails to get me my 2 figures. But lo and behold, I finally received them. What was it? Monday, Tuesday?
Like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that earlier this week, yeah.
Yeah, so I was gonna. The intention was to do an unboxing while
he was gonna unbox them on this episode, and it was gonna be a thing. He's like, I've opened 2, but I have 2 more to open. And then Richie suffered from, do we call it pot brain?
Something like that.
Or like, is it an ADHD thing where you're like, I cannot wait anymore. I have to do it now.
Well, it was an ADHD thing because I think the delay that I had was like, no, I gotta fucking open all of these, and it wasn't very long. And you can see them here, and I'll put up some pictures in a second.
He took photos.
Yeah,
he took photos. Internets.
And I will.
This is a video podcast. This is definitely not one that we can just like throw on Spotify because or Apple podcast, because people are gonna like, they're showing stuff, we can't see anything.
Yeah. So you'll see here. I mean, we will put it up, but if you really want to get the most out of it, go watch it on YouTube.
It'll be on YouTube.
In this pic here that we have, you can see the Batman, the Flash, the Darkseid, and Aquaman. Have to zoom out a bit to get the Superman, because the shelf I decided to display them on didn't actually have enough room for all of them. However, I was smart and I got fishing line, and I decided to suspend Superman like he was flying in to punch Darkseid. I am overall happy with these figures. I won't show that one quite yet. Let's go back to us for a second. But I do have some critiques for it. The main one is...
Tell Richie is over 40, by the way, because he's like talking through burps.
Yeah,
that's
sorry.
Something that people over... Something that people over 40 do. No, there's no need to apologize. I just want to make it clear. If you are under 30 and you happen to watch this, and also welcome, hi, we're older, but we're not old. Mm-hmm. That is something that older people do. We talk through burps and belches and hiccups. So just...
Yeah, it just happens.
Remember that.
Yeah. If you
continue.
If you hear a long pause, that's something else. Anyways, what was I saying? Totally derailed.
You had some critiques.
Yes, critiques.
About that's my job.
Yes.
I derail. You have critiques about the Justice League. Okay, so just before you get into your pros and cons, I just want to like clear. So this is from a video game that came out for the Super Nintendo.
No, it came out for the SNES and the Sega Genesis, I believe it was.
Sega Genesis, and it was a Justice League game.
Justice League Task Force. It was basically
Justice League Task Force.
I think it was, if not the first.
I played it.
One of the first fighting games for DC. And let's see. Let's just look at the 1995.
It was like a side-scrolling adventure.
Yeah.
Like you could pick one of the 4 Justice League characters,
something like that,
and then go through and punch up a bunch of enemies, and then fight a boss. Yeah.
So they did that. So this, and at that time, you've got Superman with his long hair, because that was the 90s, and that was his look at the time after he came back from the dead. Batman in his gray and blue costume. Aquaman in his classic costume, but with long hair. The Flash. On the cover of the game, but not in the set, there was also Wonder Woman and Green Arrow, which I hope they follow up and make the other ones, especially the Green Arrow. The one thing I love about them, which I probably should have taken a better picture for, but you might be able to see it on the Superman one when I bring it up here a second. Wrong button. Here we go. So you can see on the Superman here, the symbol looks like, you can see like the digitizing looks like the 32-bit or 16-bit, whatever the graphics was.
16-bit, Richie.
Was it 16-bit?
16-bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been around a lot of systems. They all kind of run together at some point. And then you can kind of see like shading. The only problem I have, and I'm going to put the other image up now, and it's the only face that's really, really that bad, is Superman's face is, I don't know if this word is offensive, but it's really derpy.
No, it's not. Okay. That's not offensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get it. It also kind of resembles how it looked in the video game. Ultimately,
I think that's what they're going for.
Ultimately, I am gonna probably swap that head out for another Superman head that's sitting, just to make it look a little bit better. No problem with the other figures. One thing that I am annoyed with them though is some of the figures' hands come off really easily for a set of figures that don't have alternate hands. When I was trying to put, and the other thing is they all have, each character minus the dark side, which we'll get to, comes with 2 punching or kicking effects. Well, one's because one's is molded to go on a hand and one's molded to go on the foot.
So it's just like a transparent effect where you put it on the punch or you put it on the kick.
You can sort of see it on Superman's hand here. I'll put a spec on the screen.
I mean, I can't see it at all. Yeah. But
you can't see it.
Okay.
But I what I can do is I can bring down.
Ooh. Oh, that's neat.
I can bring down the.
Because Richie didn't share it, and I don't have the same. Okay.
So this one's meant to go on the foot. I mean, if you really.
It looks like a slipper.
Yeah, and this one's more fashion to go on the hand. They all have one of those. Aquaman's are this yellow, Batman's are blue, Superman's are red, and the Flash's are yellow. They kind of got lazy. I mean, they were kind of. It is the effect that you got with the punches in the game and the kicks. So there's that, but it's kind of lazy giving them all the same 2 things. You know what I mean?
Hey man, plastic's expensive. They got to cut corners somewhere, Richie.
I know, but
I mean, I just thought it was funny that the feet effects looks like a slipper to me. So,
the dark side's really cool. This was also my first actual Build-A-Figure experience. I've never bought a set of figures and then put together the Build-A-Figure.
Welcome to the club.
And so I've done that. It was cool. I do have to say it was you really had to and it was my first time, so I was trying to be firm but not forceful and trying to put it on.
Just like with parenting.
Yeah, exactly. About how I was putting it on, and I just like it was just like
Firm yet forceful.
yeah.
Also, good advice for putting on
Exactly.
condoms.
So it was just there's a couple times I was afraid of breaking something, which is but it's designed for you to make sure you get it in there and then like click it in there so it stays.
Also, similar with
Yeah,
condoms.
exactly. Some no,
Sorry.
never mind. But yeah, I gotta say, overall, I am happy. Like the I had to wait till I could see a good picture on the website. Plus, I would kind of like when I pre-ordered it, I let them know I'm like it kind of depends on how willing I am to let Superman's face slide, because I might say I actually don't want them. But when I saw them, when I saw the first two arrive and the two other chasers, I was like, you know what, can I can not put up with, but I can forgive the look of Superman's derpy face, because I really wanted the dark side. I didn't like the classic dark side with the cape look.
No,
That
I would.
one's, but this one
I don't know
is,
why. I don't
even
know why
though
they
he's
did
kind
that.
of video gamey, it is, one of my favorite classic dark side looks. I'm getting a thumbs up now on the screen. It is one of my one of my favorite classic dark side looks. I do wish the arms had a little bit more maneuverability, so I could, pose them with.
Oh, you can't. That's actually why I was super happy when I got the dark side with the throne from you, and I've been looking for that dark side for fucking 2 years, folks. Let me tell you that. So when Richie got it for me, I was gonna get it anyway, no matter what. But Richie surprised me, and that was the first thing I did. Was like, will his hands fit behind his back to do that classic? I'm a badass holding my fists behind me and looking out over all that I domain.
Yeah.
And it does. He has a little bit, he doesn't have a lot, but he has enough range of forward and backward with the shoulders that you can absolutely do that. And it's the best. I had the old Build-A-Figure Darkseid figure from the DC Universe line from Kenner, I think it was. Or Mattel, from like 15 years ago, and he could never do that. I can only ever get it halfway. So I'm really happy to be able to do that with this Darkseid figure. And I wanted this one anyway because as much as I'm not a big fan of the Snyderverse movies overall, I love their design for Darkseid. I think it's great, and it's all the detailed stuff. Not everyone's cup of tea. I know it's not your cup of tea. You were like, it's fine, but I want the comic version.
Yeah.
So.
I do at one point really want them to release a dark side that has some really awesome Omega beam effects that you can put on them, because that would be cool. I think there's like a $300 Mafex one that you can get that's out there or something like that, but
the caped version with the medallion from the old Superpowers line for McFarlane does have an alternate head with some like Omega beam effect on it. So you could always buy that and swap that head out with the one from the video game one.
yeah.
But if you do that, I might hit you because that's like it's like you're basically spending $60, $65 on a figure for a head. Yeah.
And it's like if it's the Green Lantern dilemma all over again.
Yeah. See, I can, in good conscience, as your friend, allow you to make such a poor decision.
Yeah.
But I will say, if you see that figure on discount for $30, it's worth getting just to do the head swap.
Exactly.
And with the Green Lantern one, same deal, but it's got to be under 20. So, I wouldn't do. I would say 15, but I know you're a little bit more liberal with me when it comes to these things. So, for you, $20. You see it under $20, pick it up. Do it.
Yeah.
It's fine. I won't slap you.
But I may remove, because there's some like Superman lunchboxes behind them. I may relocate those, or find a better shelf. So that may not be their permanent home, but we're always moving figures and stuff.
Oh yeah, work in progress. You never. It's also, you got to change it. You got to change it with the seasons.
Yeah.
So if you were going to give a rating to this 4-figure set with the additional Build-A-Figure, what would you give it overall?
I would give it a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. So that's a real derpy face Superman, is what you're saying.
And the at least 2 of them had hands that came off way too easily. And then the can't put Darkseid's hand behind his back is.
Yeah. See, that's a no-go for me, because if you can't have Darkseid surveying all with that evil look, what is the
But I can have
point?
him like with his hand like this, and you may see my daughter did my nails. So.
They're beautiful. They're so beautiful.
But yeah, 7 out of 10. I'd give that one. I am happy with it. I was obviously super excited to open it because I didn't wait till this episode. So.
I mean, it's hard too, because back in the day, I mean, if you're watching this, you can see my old Build-A-Figure Sentinel, which I got in 2005, 2006. Yeah. So he's almost 20 years old. It's my absolute favorite action figure that I think I've ever gotten my whole life, except for the Alien Queen, which I lost. But it took 9 figures from the old Marvel Legends line to make that Sentinel. And I think the total cost back in 2005, 2006 was about, I think I spent about $114 plus tax on 9 action figures that made the Sentinel.
Did you want all 9 of those figures? Were they purchases?
No. Yeah. No. But I mean, it was a mostly X-Men line, so my point was going to be, even like, it didn't matter if half of the figures were garbage to me, because the goal was to get the Sentinel, and that was what I wanted to get, and the other ones I didn't really care of. I just got lucky, and they were smart when they were crafting this set. But I'd have to look it up. And I'll do that on some future edition when we talk more about Build-A-Figures. But I think out of the 9 figures, 7 of them were actually figures I wanted. Like they were good quality X-Men figures, and they were worth the purchase, because only 2 of them were like, it's fine. And I ended up being fine with them anyway. But I think if you're getting a Build-A-Figure, you need to at least 75%.
I'm actually going to amend my grading, just because I'm going to bump it up to a 7.5, just because I love the cloth cape on Superman and the vinyl cape on Batman with the wires, because it adds a degree of posability. But so.
All right. That's fair.
Yeah.
7.5 is respectable. But yeah, in my mind, like, it's 75%.
Yeah.
It's like, do I really want to do this? Like,
So, the last thing I'm going to say about Build-A-Figures is that I really like that DC is only 4 figures for a Build-A-Figure, and the standard now for Marvel seems to be 6 figures for a Build-A-Figure.
I mean, let's talk about this for a second, just because it's frustrating. But action figures back when, again, I was collecting the first time around with the Marvel Legends were like $15, $14. Now they average 30.
Yeah.
Like, some of the McFarlane stuff is $29.99, but a bunch of them are $39.99. All of the Marvel Legends and all of the G.I. Joe classifieds are $36.99, $35.99 on Amazon, or $45 if you go to Toys R Us. Or Toys R Us. Yeah. Oh boy. And those are the low ends, because then, like, NECA is usually around the $50 to $70 mark, and Mezco is usually around the $70 to $80 mark for their stuff. And then the superhero figures, the super figure arts, yeah, those ones start at like $80 to $90 Canadian. It's a good thing you didn't get into those ones, but they're beautiful. They look really nice, but they're expensive. And when we do the lower end figures, we do a Build-A-Figure. And again, back in the day when there were 6 or 7 or 8 figures that made up a Build-A-Figure, that was fine, because they only cost $15, and we still complained about it at the time. Now it's like $40. It only should be 4, maybe 5 figures to do a Build-A-Figure, and there shouldn't be, one of those figures should not have like a stand.
Yeah.
it should be all of this stuff is included with 4 figures, and that's it. Cut us a break. Oh.
Yeah.
Because I mean, now what Marvel is doing, I mean, what Hasbro does is that they're using Build-A-Figures to then make a chase figure down the road for a special edition. And like with the Captain America Brave New World figure, uses parts from the Captain America Build-A-Figure for the wings from back from the Disney Plus line, which I have the whole series of. And it's a little bit better, but it's still basically the same molds. And I'm like, okay, well, this is just kind of reuse, so you have to justify that price point. But if you're going to put out a Build-A-Figure and then like a year later release the figure in a package, I don't know about that.
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that because, because I know sometimes with the McFarlane stuff, the Build-A-Figure does get released as a solo later on.
Well, yeah, we just saw that with the Mr. Freeze from the Batman and Robin film.
Yeah.
But we pointed out last time we did this show that it's going to come with blacklight generators, and the figure will like have a blacklight effect. And I'm like, well, that's feels like a justifiable reuse of the mold. Is to give people something that they couldn't get with the Build-A-Figure that is actually of an incentive for people to want to get another one if they already have it.
The one I want them to release as a solo figure is the Plastic Man, because the 4 figures that the Plastic Man Build-A-Figure that came out earlier this year, it was a Batman that was kind of 89-esque, but not exactly 89. There was Aquaman with long hair, I believe. Maybe, no, not the Hook, but long-haired Aquaman. Superman Blue, and then who was the 4th? Fuck. Now it's gonna bug me.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, there was another one. It wasn't Superman Red. It should have been Superman Red. But
yeah, it should have been Superman.
Although I wonder if, now that I think of it, I wonder if there was a Superman Red chase. Because like I didn't want to get that set one because like I didn't really want that Batman. It wasn't what I was looking for in a Batman. I didn't really want the Aquaman. The Superman Blue would have been cool, but then I wouldn't have a Superman Red, and I have a perfectly good Superman Red and Blue right here in an older set. Not quite as articulate, but still pretty awesome.
I don't want to knock the DC Universe's line because they had a lot of great figures in that line, and I had a bunch of those figures, and I sold a lot of them. It was a good line. Mm-hmm. Stuff now is better, Richie.
It's
so
true.
I don't know. You should get the new ones. Yeah. You should have gotten the new ones. That's all I'm saying. I don't know, but it's hard, man, because like I love the retro stuff, and we're gonna talk more retro in a second. I'm gonna showcase some retro stuff, but I love the progression in action figures and the fact that in now. What we have is even from 5 years ago. I mean, we've gone from pins to pinless for a lot of the toys, and there's such a smoother, cooler look to them. And there's the detail has gone up. I don't want to shit on over like the old Marvel Legends stuff or the DC Universe line or any of the old G.I. Joe 3 3/4 inches. All that stuff is great, and the progression is great. But the stuff they're doing now is just awesome. Like this is the best. I think one of the best times to be a toy collector. If you have old stuff, you can still love it. You don't have to sell it.
Yeah.
I'm always going to argue upgrade. Always going to argue get the newest version.
It's bugging me, so now I have to go find what the 4th figure is in that Build-A-Figure. But like, I could
have placed money on the fact that while I was ranting about this, Richie was looking for what that 4th figure was.
Yeah.
I could have put money. I could have bet myself, and I would be paying myself in shiny nickels.
Where is it? It was
sexy dimes.
JLA 7-inch. Oh, it was Aquaman with the harpoon hand. Okay, so and so where's the 4th one? There's JLA 7-inch Build-A-Figure. Where's...
One of the things that, if you're new to our podcasting world, those of you who are watching us, that you'll be able to experience, when Richie gets an idea stuck in his head, he has to have resolution for it. And that's what he's doing right now.
Where the fuck
He saw a block. Now he's going to find resolution. We do not have a researcher. Can't ask our Speeding Bullets related cohort Jamie to jump on and do research for us while we're talking about action figures, because she would fall asleep 5 minutes into this episode.
There we go.
It's
a John Stewart Green Lantern. It's not as cool as the one that we have, though. It's kind of like, here, I'll put it up on the screen really quickly because I can just drag it.
I've seen the photos.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
This is what he was looking for.
Yeah. So
no, the one we have is better.
Yeah. So
that one's better.
And this
anyway. Now that you've gotten that out of your head.
See, the thing was, 2 out of the 4 figures I didn't really want, but I really want a Plastic Man. But I have this old, which is my old figure for the episode. This old Plastic Man, which looks a lot like the new one, but that was the Build-A-Figure, but a lot smaller. Really cool because really bendy. I think this was 1999 DC Direct, if I am not mistaken.
Buddy, you don't bend them too much. The metal wire in there is probably holding on by a thread, and I mean that figuratively and literally.
Actually, no, I actually haven't bent him a lot over the years, so there wasn't I haven't put him in weird positions.
It's still 15 years old. It's a 15-year. No, it's 1999. You said so. It's 25 years old.
Yeah, but
just saying, plastic degrades.
Good old E.L. O'Brien. He's one of my favorites, lesser-known characters. I wouldn't say a lot of the mainstream are really familiar with Plastic Man, though I'm pretty sure he predates Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah. I think so. I think it was the 50s is when Plastic Man came out, and I think
Plastic Man, if I'm not mistaken, but
and Elastic Man I think was in the mid 1960s. I think it was just after the Fantastic came out. I mean, again, nobody has a mark on stretchy characters, right? But anyway, this is not our retro. This is not our historical nerd segment. This is about toys. I think your point is valid. I would like to see them do more re-releases of Build-A-Figure stuff in single package form, but they have to give something that we didn't get when they were part of the Build-A-Figure. They have to, and it's not just here's a different head. They have to above and beyond the whole process so that it feels like a justification if you do in fact want another version of that. But it's also going to be similar enough. As a good example, when Hasbro, their HasLab did the A10 Thunderbolt, the Warthog plane, and they included 4 figures. One of those figures was the retro Cobra Commander. It was the Chase Cobra Commander that you could order in the 1980s with the Mickey Mouse snake emblem on the chest. So it was kind of and it came in the retro packaging, and this was just as they were starting to get into the retro packaging as a regular release line for the G.I. Joe classified stuff. And of course, nerds like me were like, oh, that sucks. You guys get a classic retro Cobra Commander spending the $400, $500 on that super large, super awesome plane. Mm-hmm. I want that. I want to put that in my collection. And then when they released the Cobra Commander in the retro line, it was basically the official version of the figure with the proper Cobra emblem, and they gave him a vacuum seal metallic face, which the figure that comes with the Rattler doesn't have. Did I say Warthog? I said Warthog, but it's the Rattler. Yeah. The Cobra Rattler, which I would have loved to have gotten, but I did not have $500, and I do not have space for a plane that's this big by this big. Where am I going to put that? I don't have this. No, my ceilings are not load-bearing ceilings. They have enough cracks in them as it is. It would have been great, and it came with 4 figures, and I would love to have the driver, the pilot for the Rattler, Wild Weasel. No, it's just Weasel, because Wild Bill is the one for the helicopter. I would have loved to have that in the single line. If they put it out in retro, I'm going to get it, no problem. But that was a great example of, we did this figure, we're going to do it, it's going to be different for the regular line. So if you got the Rattler and you have the 4 figures for the Rattler, and you wanted to spend the extra money for this different version of the same Cobra Commander, it's different enough that you can justify spending the $35 or $26 if you're in the U.S. and you're watching this. We're talking Canadian prices,
Yeah,
by the way, and you're like, $500 for the Rattler? It was like $299. Yeah, so this is Canada.
Yeah.
All right, just to make it clear. So yeah, I think that's an acceptable change on putting out a new figure that has already been released. And also, who had $500, right? Like, that's expensive. So that made sense. So I'd love to see, to bookend this, I'd love to see them put out more Build-A-Figures in the regular line. They just have to put stuff in it, make it different enough.
And that's easy to do.
Similar
with
enough
plastic,
to what I got. You watch, you're going to see him in Christmas. He's going to come out in November.
You'll see, and I will immediately pre-order that motherfucker.
He's like, I'm getting it. I'm doing the thing.
All right.
So what's next? What are we going to talk about next?
I think you have some figures to show us.
I do. So since we were just talking about G.I. Joe, I'm going to do a little thing here called Retro versus Modern. And I was
Oh, you froze for me again.
we're gonna, because I just think it's fun, and I have a bunch of stuff. Like, I don't have like 1 or 2. Like, I have a bunch of the stuff from the 80s and the 90s. So we're going to showcase a little bit of the retro style, but I thought it was really funny. I pulled out a box which has like literally, I'm going to say 20 different lines, 20 different types of action figures in it. There's probably about 150 to 200 figures in those boxes from various time periods in the world. But I pulled out one box, and I found that there was a figure in there that was the 80s version of the one I had just gotten. So I have, obviously, I showcased last week. For those of you who are in audio only, I'm showing the G.I. Joe Classified Quick Kick. So I got him. Great figure. Love him. Good job. But I found, from 1985 is when this figure was released, the classic retro
legs.
Quick Kick. Now, obviously, I was a child who played with his toys. So those of you who are seeing this on YouTube, you can see that his crotch has been broken. Or Quick Kick. This was a thing that happened a lot with the G.I. Joe figures in the 80s, is that over time the piece
Crash,
of
the
plastic
piece.
would break. His legs are a little bit wobbly because the O-ring, which is a part of these figures, is pretty worn. I could unscrew the back of this and I could fix that. I could fix that if I wanted to. But I just thought it was very fun to like, this is the 1985. This figure is 40 years old.
Wow.
Here is his modern counterpart. Again, 3 3/4 inch versus 6 inch.
You can really see the difference in detail too from over the years. Like the coloring is better. The facial expression is better. It's funny, you holding up the older one. I remember playing with G.I. Joes when I was a kid, and I remember them feeling larger, but that thing looks tiny in your hand.
Oh yeah, this was 3 3/4 inch. So this is back when they relaunched the line back in the 1980s. They wanted to do something that was different, something that would be noticed. And like, they had the Transformers figures were all different sizes because they imported them. And they wanted to do it at a price point that was a little more affordable, because the bigger the figure, the more plastic that goes into it, the more expensive they're going to make it. And that's why they went with the smaller size, because they figured they could do more, and they could have vehicles and accessories and everything, and would be better for kids, or as like the idea of the collectability of it and the desire to make more. Because I think when the line first came out, they had like 7 or 8 figures, and it was a huge hit because G.I. Joe had been a toy in the 60s, and people loved the styling and the size. And you can get I mean, this is a lot of detail too for a 3 3/4 inch figure.
And for the time,
at the time though. I mean, they decided what they wanted to do. There wasn't a standard for action figures. The Star Wars toys were about the same size as this, just a little bit bigger. They were, I think, about 4 inches. So they were about that big. And I have a couple of them that I'll show in future episodes. I got rid of most of my Star Wars stuff, so I don't have older Star Wars stuff. But it was like comparable to the Star Wars line, but not. But it was smaller than He-Man, which I think came in 1983. And it was smaller than the Transformers, but also larger than the Transformers because some of them had cockpits. It gets very complicated. But G.I. Joe was such a massive success that a lot of figures and a lot of toys at the time then started reducing the sizes so that they could be comparable to this 3 3/4 inch size thing. But yeah, it is super. When you think of having those tiny hands, it's like the perfect thing. And now we're adults, and it's like, so tiny. Look at how little he is compared to his big brother. He's like, I'm sorry about the legs, son, but you were played with as a toy. So yeah, that's a nice little comparison. I do have a couple of other comparisons I'm going to be able to do moving forward, because I do have some older versions of some newer ones. This is why I was picking on you for your Superman red and blue. Because if you had gotten the McFarlane red and blues, you could do a compare and contrast with what...
I don't even know if there was a red McFarlane. As far as I know, there's only a blue.
There's only been a blue?
Yeah. So...
There you go. So that's this week's compare and contrast, old versus new. We'll do that again. So you can take a journey with us down the rabbit hole of what it was like then versus what it's like now.
I do have to say, there's one line of toys that I was thinking of getting into because they're starting a new series of it, but looking at pictures online, I just don't think they're worth it. And because they're doing a series 3 of the Invincible toys. And like there's going to be an Alan the Alien, Rexplode, another Adam Eve, and Monster Girl. Mauler twins are coming, and they at my GameStop that I go to right now, they actually have an old robot, an Adam Eve, and I looked at them, and it's like they don't say I want to own this when I look at it.
Yeah, I agree. They're not cheap, but they don't pop.
Yeah.
Like I was in when Richie and I were in Ottawa together, and we were doing a toy hunt. I saw them, and I remember thinking, there's something not impressive.
I mean, I think I was excited when I initially saw them because I'm like, oh, Invincible action figures. But then I saw them, and I'm like, oh, like there's nothing. I mean, I think it's cool that they do come with a stand of their own. But that's not enough. There's not enough in those ones.
Do you know what I think one of the problems is that the comics and the cartoon have a very distinct visual style, which I think works really well for both the comic and the cartoon. But I feel it's too simple when it translates to an action figure.
Yeah.
And I feel like what they needed to do was do a more detailed version of a toy, and then also did a comic/cartoon accurate version, so that you could decide if you wanted something a little bit more detailed for your shelf, or something that was basically just like pulled from the books, because they're nicely designed, but they're not They don't have a toy look to them.
They're accurate.
It's very simple.
Yeah, they're accurately portrayed. Like there's nothing wrong there. It's just like they're just not. There's no oomph to them.
There's no oomph, and especially nowadays where there's so much choice, I feel like you need to balance what are you giving versus what are you getting, and what is the style that you're giving them. I mean, it's like when you look at all the turtle stuff. I mean, there's classic animated turtle stuff that's ultra detailed and comes with tons of accessories, and it's just like it's just pulled right off of the 1987 cartoon, and it's like, oh, this is amazing. But there's also ultra detailed movie versions of the Turtles. There's comic book accurate versions of the Turtles. All the different comic book styles that they've done.
There's multiple different comic book looks, and
so you have this variation on the kind of displays that you want, depending on the kind of fan of the Turtles that you are. Same with He-Man. They have ultra detailed, cartoon accurate He-Man toys. They have more Power of the Force, Masters of the Universe, more higher end, ultra detailed stuff.
There's the new Eternia stuff as well.
Yeah, there's more of a variation of that. And with the Invincible stuff, there's only one style, and the style is both the same from the cartoon and the comic. So there is no texture. No there's not a depth of texture, I think, that's available on those action figures, which sets them apart from their comic cartoon origins.
Ooh, it makes me think of just how, because we don't have any looks yet at all, but I'm just thinking of the possibilities of the future Masters of the Universe action figures with the forthcoming film.
It's gonna be very interesting. I think they've done a pretty good job with the Masters of the Universe line, especially over the last couple of years. I mean, the really good stuff is at a much higher price point. But I think they've done a pretty good job, and you would know more than me because you have some.
Yeah, the Revelations stuff.
But I think it's that bridge of going from what you have, that cartoony style, to something that's perhaps a little bit more like the G.I. Joe Classifieds, that kind of in between, where it's like He-Man, but it's like this. Yeah. I'm like, ooh, is that going to be something I'm interested in? I don't know. I don't know. It's very interesting. Very interesting. I do want to show you guys something. Another reveal from the old collection, the classic collection of stuff that I have. I did find something that I think is the oldest. It's one of the oldest toys that I have, and this is from 1982. And it is E.T., the extraterrestrial. He has the ball jointed arms, bend. His feet do not move at all, and he has an extendo neck.
Ooh, nice.
You can extend his neck up, and extend his neck down. This is in really good condition, I would say, considering that this toy is 23 years old this year.
Yeah.
This is a 43-year-old action figure. The paint's still pretty strong. I mean, again, this is not something that you're playing around too much with when 80s, but this is probably the oldest toy that I have in my collection that's not busted. Because as you saw from Quick Kick from 3 years later, he didn't do so well. But yeah, I mean, this is what we were dealing with back in the 80s, guys. Is this kind of modular. Also, I just want to draw attention to whatever is going on here, which is very disturbing.
It's the thumb part of his feet connecting.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this part here. This bumpy, vaginally looking sort of thing. For a toy. Now, I again, it's pretty accurate to E.T. This, I'd say, is an accurate representation of E.T.
I don't remember his lungs being that prominent, though.
Well, they glowed, right? So this is from I guess, from the end of the movie when he was sick.
Right.
Is why the red paint is on there. Um, but yeah, like I don't know.
So you've got a sick
Feel pretty
ET.
a sick ET. Yeah. It's just really funny to sometimes look at these things. I think there's paint on his hand from. I think I painted on his hand at one point. You can see there's a little bit of red. I don't know. He's also been in a box for most of my entire life. But yeah, I think this is one of the oldest toys that I owned, or that I still own. There's a couple of other GI Joes that we'll pull out at some point. I do have another GI Joe old versus new that we'll do because I found one in there. So that'll be in the coming weeks. But yeah, I do have a lot of stuff that I kept, and some of it I played with a lot. I think we can all agree that E.T. was not overtly played with. He's more like he's here. He's just not doing anything. But I think it's also kind of funny that sized ET I think, puts him about the same size ratio as the G.I. Joe and the Marvel and the McFarlane figures. McFarlane's obviously a little bigger at 7 inches, but I think that's about accurate for 6-inch inch toys. Is old ET there? So yeah, so that's fun. That was a fun thing that I found. I'm sure there are people watching this that are like, that toy is older than I am.
Unfortunately,
And it's probably in better condition.
I don't have any toys from my childhood. Those, unfortunately, are all gone. Just
Freud?
yeah, I don't know where. They're just gone.
Sold off. Sold for parts.
Yeah. The oldest stuff I would have would be from the 90s, when I was starting to collect things. But yeah, so I mean, I have some older stuff that I can go through. I have some obscure stuff as well, but we've got lots of episodes that we can show off a lot of different things.
It's true.
Here's a challenge for a future episode. Largest and smallest action figures.
Well, the largest is this.
Obviously, yeah, it's the Sentinel. I can see it in yours, but
Sentinel's the largest one, and the smallest ones are actually going to be a part of a future retro review or retro analysis. Because yes, I have a bunch of tiny toys. And I'm not talking about the little Batmobile that I have, like the little micro machine.
Nice.
This is not a micro machine. This is from this little Batmobile.
This
right
little
here
Batmobile
was released by the toy company Ertl, which I think maybe still exists, and it came in a 3-pack with a Joker van and a Bat plane. I don't know where the Joker van and the Bat plane are. Yeah. Really wish I knew where the Bat plane was, because I loved that. But I can't know where it's not somewhere. I haven't seen it in my parents' place. I haven't seen it in my travel. I haven't seen it in many, many, many years. But I've seemed to have always had this as regular stocked in my collection. So this is, again, it fits in with the Micro Machines lines of toys, but it is not a Micro Machine. It is made by Ertl, who the same company that made this Batmobile.
Ertl the Turtle.
This is not a Hot Wheels Batmobile. This is the Ertl line of Batmobiles, and I know this for a fact is because Ertl got this is the production design for a Batmobile. It is not the Batmobile design that appeared in 1989 Batman. So this is the vehicle, the production vehicle that they made the actual vehicle out of, and then when they did the modeling, this is it. But eagle-eyed fans will know, and they can see even from the large for the small, there's slight differences between the overall shape and design of the Batmobiles. That's because this is a production. Also, look at that cool
bat symbol on the top.
Cool, not so cool bat symbol right there on the top, just in case you didn't know who this car belonged to.
And then in case you were still wondering.
So this Batmobile released in 1990, I want to say, with that 3-pack, and I think this one was 1992. You can see it there.
Yeah.
1992. So that's how long I've had these guys for, and they're part of here on my TV shelf is where I keep all of my Batmobiles.
Mm-hmm.
So they're always close at hand. Look at and love, because I'm a big Batman fan.
Yeah. I think that's all I got. You got anything else for this week's episode?
I did have one other retro thing that I wanted to showcase. This was before I found Quick Kick and before I found E.T. I found these two figures. I'm like, okay, this is a little bit of a throwback, a little bit fun. It's not that long ago, but it also kind of is. So,
is it an American Ninja figure?
It's not an American Ninja figure, no. So, McFarlane has been making action figures for a long time, since the early 1990s when the Spawn line first came out. Mm-hmm. Spawn line was very popular because people love the Spawn action figures. And then in about the mid 1990s, McFarlane started doing his Movie Maniacs line. Mm-hmm. And so he would. That's where the first Scream toy was made available, which I had. I had a Ghostface action figure. They had. They did at the beginning. They did whatever they could get their hands on. And then the bigger releases like Aliens came later on, and Terminator came later on. So the first couple of years were mostly like whatever they could get the license for. But that's where they had an Evil Dead Ash figure from Army of Darkness, and they had the Blair Witch from the Blair Witch Project. Again, hilarious because there's no physical Blair Witch in the Blair Witch movie, but they threw something together for money. One of the things that I was able to get back in the 90s, because I was a huge fan of this show that was then turned into a movie, the X-Files line.
Oh, nice.
So here is Mulder and Scully from the 1990, I think it's 1997?
Their faces
X-Files
are
still?
very expressionless.
Here's Mulder. David Duchovny. He's fairly well represented in 1990s action figure form. I think Gillian Anderson's Scully comes off a little bit better. She's pretty hot though. And that's not. I don't want to throw shade at Gillian Anderson. She's a babe in any universe, but I feel like this is the Barbie version of Scully.
Yeah.
So she's a little Barbied up. Out here.
I don't think Scully would wear that bright of makeup on her or lipstick.
Yeah, she's a little bit tarted up. It's
like someone set a makeup shotgun to horror.
Is it, lady? It's Lady of the Evening, Scully. With constant stare off into the distance, Mulder.
Are their badges actually movable?
No.
Okay.
They're just pieces of plastic that are molded on there pretty solidly. But they are, again, it's a pretty good representation of the toys and of the figures, the displays and the look as they appeared in the movie. Their arms not moving so much. This one doesn't. This arm doesn't move anywhere except for up and down. He did come with a gun, which is somewhere. I have it still. See, he's like, aliens. And Scully had, again, she came with a cell phone. That was a big deal back then. So Mulder comes with a gun, no cell phone. Scully came with a cell phone, no gun. So Mulder's got to protect her ass if something's going on. That's not very progressive as far as I'm concerned. Because she's like, I can call for help. And Mulder's like, I will shoot the aliens dead. Which is like, that's sexist. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. That's sexist. I think Scully pulled her gun more in the show than Mulder ever pulled his gun. But this was a whole line. I had these two. There's an alien that's somewhere in here based on the alien from X-Files Fight the Future. And there's also Mulder came with the alien case. So if you've seen the X-Files movie, and let's face it, you probably have if you're watching this podcast. In the movie, they have all these cases that open up, and there's aliens inside of them, and it's like a, I don't know, proto-alien thing. So Mulder came with the case with the alien. Scully comes with the stretcher with a dead body on it and wrapped in cloth for some strange reason. If you've seen the movie, it makes sense. And the alien is just the alien that comes with it. So I had all three of those sets. The alien is in here somewhere, but he's kind of buried. But Mulder and Scully, the reason I was able to grab them so easily, because they've been on my shelf for many, many years, because I'm still a big fan of the X-Files. I love the X-Files. Well, season 7. It's less good after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought I would show these. This is like 1997, I think, is when these toys came out. God, there is a date on the boot, but my eyesight is not what it used to be. Hold on. 1998. 1998 is when these guys were available. It's when the movie came out. And you know what? There's still this.
They're decent.
Look, they don't not very posable. Their legs don't work, and Scully's got super huge shoes. Like,
yeah,
she has big shoes. But I don't know. I think this was a pretty good line. Maniacs, again, they got more and more detailed as time went on. And they were able to include bigger licenses like Aliens and Predator and Terminator. The fun fact about the old Movie Maniacs line, they didn't have Arnold Schwarzenegger's license for the first time they did a Terminator toy. So the whole face was like scarred up like Robot. But eventually, because the line was getting more popular, they were able to, with Terminator 3 Rise in Machines, when they made those figures, which I think was 2003, if I'm not mistaken, that is when they were able to get Schwarzenegger to license his image, and that's when they were able to produce figures with the actual E800 look from the film in action figure form. So, yeah, fun story.
Well, there you have it. Another great figure-filled, fun-filled episode of Speeding Bullets Repackaged. Tell us what you think of the figures we brought up. If you agree...
They're real old school this time. Yeah, they're real old school.
Yeah. If you agree, disagree. If you got the Justice League Task Force figures, if you got the Chase set, let us know how you feel about it. And again, if you're a toy company that wants us to feature your toys, we will gladly do that.
That's right. We are going to do, I think we're going to do a modern review at least once an episode. Mm-hmm. So next time I'm going to talk about one of the newer figures that I got. It may be more than one, but yeah. And Richie and I did just today, well, Richie did, me, because he's great, is we have pre-ordered the Maximum Spider-Man, which is coming out in May. Yes. So we're gonna be reviewing that guy when we get a chance, when we finally have him. Yeah, 1st of May or sooner.
Yeah, generally with the GameStop pre-orders, they usually arrive at the store a day or two before the actual release day. So, but they call you right away. So.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. But yeah, there's lots of stuff coming up. Richie's got some stuff coming up that he's going to be getting. I have some stuff that's coming up that I'm going to be getting. So, yeah. Tuned. We'll have a mix of old and new.
That's right.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Bye.
E.T. phone home.
E.T.
phone home.
What did I have?
E.T. phone home.
Plastic Man doesn't really have a catchphrase.
I love it.
They've just made him less creepy over the years.
He's giving you guys the finger.
Bye.
So really well. He was like, bye.
There we have it.
Hilarious.